I have this one turned off and I just have to plug it right during this.
Behind you. See if I can make it without.
She knows Jessica. Jessica, the material. You came to my house and dropped off the governor. Yeah. Oh, let me see if I have it because I ran out. I know he did.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Hey, Jessica's friend. They're driving here.
Jacob.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, Tony, how are you?
We help for this.
So I have this like set up. So if you guys ever want to live stream it, because I found
Down to any of our meetings.
yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Where are you? Oh, well, he's here. It's Barbie and the third, and we're running through the back. Stay in touch.
I will.
Alright, check it out.
I'm good, Dimitri. How are you?
Always.
Hello, hi. Nice to see you.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. Even if you're late, I just need.
Jim from Notre Dame University. How are you?
Okay. I know, right? Yeah, very good one.
Come on.
How are you? Good to see you. Sonia.
Have an Angie, you know, in the Orioles game.
Yes, sir. Right. I just said we were and you said no. How you doing, man? Good to see you. We've got troops out there tonight. They're on their line. I saw them out there. Yes, they're doing great. Well, whatever you can do. Oh man, I went running around Tompkins last week.
Got everything in front of you.
Down the Dell. Have you been down there? Do lunch at the Dell. The guys who got cooks there. It's like, what's that? 25th and Howard.
Bedroom wall right here.
The new deli.
I've been there.
The cooks in Saltbeach. It's like that one movie, Last Resort. Yeah. The bar Last Resort. They just in Saltbeach.
Well, I'll find my way.
Promise me, call me.
Welcome. I'm Carl Hayes with the Pratt Library, and this is the first day that the Waverly branch is open. People over here, this was supposed to be our soft opening. Well, it has turned into our hard opening. So thank you. We now know where all the restrooms are. We're learning where the light fixtures are. We got the screen down and everything, so please forgive us if we don't know everything, but we hope you come back.
D.
So anyway,
That's okay, I could.
Second question, I got
I'll let Gus do that one. I will let Gus do that one.
This is the Demetrius show. Demetrius, are you running the mic today? Are you running it? You running the people?
You want to run it? I'm sweating buckets.
Let's check with Nunley first, because he
Nolly already said
He said he's not doing it. I'm sweating buckets.
Let your back
What did he say?
Perfect.
I'm going to play Deacon. Post up like that. God bless you. If it get tough, God bless you.
I gotta come look at your setup, bro. You streaming it live?
I am.
Awesome. What neighborhood association are you with? Or what group are you with?
I'm actually an independent journalist. My site is called City Explainer.
You're gonna have to raise yours up higher. Because you're gonna get blocked by the biggest heads in the room.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
This is gonna be a day for 6-footers.
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. Those of you who are looking for a seat, there are plenty of seats on actually both sides of the room. If you have a seat next to you, just raise your hand. We do have 2 seats reserved for the fire chief when he arrives here in the front. So, anyone standing who needs a seat, raise a hand or a finger or something. Great, we're in good shape. Looks like everyone who needs a Councilwoman.
Thank you so much. I was gonna have to run around and.
Okay.
like,
All right. I just want to make sure you do. You have a seat. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time on this August 31st, the Monday night. Thank you for joining us. We're trying to get started on time, and we would like to end on time. Those of you who are in, this is the first day of the new renovated Waverly Library. Won't you what better time to be here than the first day of school and the first day that the library, the Waverly Library, has opened. So, real quickly, my name is Gus Augustus, and I again welcome you to tonight's Public Safety Forum for the Northern District. Those of you who are residents of the Northern District, why don't you give yourselves a round of applause. And those of you who are residents of Waverly, right here in the immediate footprint, won't you give yourselves a round. So, without further ado, it is my duty and privilege not even introduce, but certainly to present to you, Mayor Stephanie Rawlings-Blake.
Thank you so much, Gus. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark for being here. I want to thank and congratulate Dr. Hayden, I don't know where she went, on the opening of the new library. For those of you who have waited for this library to open, I hope that it has exceeded your expectations. It is certainly beautiful and clearly a hub for this community. So I'm very glad that we are here on the first day of its reopening. I want to thank Tony Savage. Is Tony here? Oh, there you are, Tony. He is here on behalf of Council President Jack Young. Again, thank you all for being here. This is one of a number of public safety forums that we have conducted throughout the city. We have done this, this is the, what number is this? Fourth? For this round, and it's more than, I hope that you understand, it's more than just talk. We take the feedback, I take the feedback that we get from these forums, I take it very seriously. And we incorporate what we hear from the residents into, got it. Where's Councilman Henry? Did I miss you?
Chief Thief, back here.
I can't see you, you can't see me. All right, there we go. I can hear you now, I can hear you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being here. We take it seriously, and I have incorporated the feedback that we've gotten from these public safety forums into policy decisions. I've repeatedly heard from community members around the city that we wanted safer streets, not without a doubt. But one of the things that I heard loud and clear in the last round of public safety forums is that the community, whether they spoke it at the microphone during questions or whether they wrote it down, were very concerned about equal treatment under the law. That prompted my work with fighting for reforms in the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights. And I was the highest ranking official in the state to fight for changes and reforms to the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights. There are a lot of people that are on board now with making these changes, but there was a lot of deaf ears when I was down there in January and February and March fighting for these changes because I heard from you. I also want to say it's because of these forums that prompted the work, my work with the Department of Justice, whether it was the collaborative review or the request for the Attorney General to come in with a patterns and practice investigation. It represents, those two steps represent the most substantial steps ever taken by an administration in our city to address the issues, the long-standing issues that we've known, that we've had in the police department. We continue to make progress when it comes to body cameras. The pilot program will start, in October. We had 10 responses to the request for proposal, which was exciting. And we're also making progress, and I don't know if Keisha is here with the Civilian Review Board. There you go, there you go. Thank you very much, Keisha Brown. Thank you very much. She has great programs or initiatives with reviving the Civilian Review Board, as well as civil rights enforcement. So I want to thank you very much, Ms. Brown, for all of your hard work. She is working very hard and diligently to find a model that works for Baltimore. So thank you very much. I will say, if you have any civil rights issues that you would like to bring, particularly around public safety, that's why Keisha is here. She wants to hear from you as well. So thank you very much for being here. We also know that we're not going to police our way. That policing cannot be the only way that we get to a safer city. That's why I focused on providing opportunities, particularly for our young people. Why? I see my mother in here. You're not even in this district, Mom.
Churches.
I've talked to you 3 times today, and you never mentioned that you were coming. And then she's gonna hide in the back. Are you here for New Waverly?
Yes.
All right. It's something you couldn't have brought up one of the many times that we talked to you. But thank you very much for being here, Mom. I'm sorry. I was distracted. We have talked many times today. At no point did she tell me she was going. We know that we're not going to police our way out of these issues. And that's why I focus on out of school time programming. After our budget was baked this year, and I want to thank Councilman Bill Henry, Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark. Both of you were instrumental in working with me to identify additional $4.2 million in funding so we could add to out-of-school time programs for our young people. And they didn't just work with me to make sure that we were able to identify those resources. They also worked to make sure that we set aside a portion of those funds for grassroots organizations, because a lot of work is being done in our community that is done by organizations that have a lot of passion, compassion, a lot of determination, and not a lot of paperwork filed. Right? And we wanted to work with those organizations that were working at the grassroots level to get them up to snuff so they could qualify for public funds. And I want to thank you again for that as well. We're also working very hard, hopefully, we can work out a hearing for my recreation center capital plan. We have a plan to put almost $140 million in renovating and building new recreation centers in the city. So clap for that. I'm excited about that plan. It will bring state-of-the-art recreation facilities that will serve families, young people, adults, seniors, teens. It will serve families, will serve as destinations. And I know if I could just get a hearing in the city council, we would be closer to moving that project, that initiative forward. So, I know I said I was going to be short, and Gus is looking at me. I'm sorry, I was distracted. All right, we've had a lot of challenges, we know. We've certainly made a lot of progress. Discourtesy complaints, misconduct complaints, and lawsuits filed against the city have decreased, while trial board convictions for officers accused of misconduct have increased. And while we continue to work very hard on reforming the police department, we remain focused on repeat violent offenders, and I'll let the commissioner talk about that. We have Operation Ceasefire, Safe Streets, we have the War Room that I know the commissioner will talk about, as well as BFED, all working together within an all-hands-on-deck effort to reduce violence in our city. And I'll let you speak to some of the progress that we've made over the past few weeks. Again, I know, and if you've ever been to another public safety forum, you will know, I've said it and I've been very clear. We will only be a safer city when we find more ways every single day to work together as a city, the community and the police. We cannot abandon that relationship, nor can we think that by not working on that relationship that we're going to be better. It's just like with any relationship. And, you know, I keep saying we're married. You know, it can be a happy relationship, or it can be one where you just don't, you just walk in the house and walk into another room. We don't want that. We want to be in communication. We want to confront the problems that we have faced, head on. We want to know that we can get through this, and that's we can do it together. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our interim police commissioner. Hopefully you'll do a better job at sticking to a short, I'm sorry, I didn't do a good job with that. So thank you very much for being here.
So Gus, I know when you say you're fine, you really don't mean that. But I will be brief, because the mayor and I definitely want to get to your questions. And we've done this so often, I feel a little backwards tonight, because I'm normally seated to the mayor's right. And I'm very superstitious. But this will be the new normal, man. We're good. You sure? You want to switch? All right, we're switching. So that's what happens when you play baseball growing up. You become superstitious. So thank you all for taking time out of your Monday night. There's a number of different things you can be doing as we're back into school and we're back into that busy time of year. I know that you have competing priorities, and just being here tonight just bodes well. And all of the events, quite frankly, have been so well attended. The Chief Ford has been at I think all of them, so he's now a good luck charm. You got to come to the rest of them, Chief. And then our other members of our BPD leadership team, Lieutenant Colonel Marcus is your area commander, BPD veteran. Your district commander, Major Smith, another longtime veteran. And your very hard-working assistant district commander, Captain Gibson. And our very hard-working director of public safety, Stephanie Rawlings-Blake, is here. And she's each and every one of these things. And if we were doing an applause meter, I think the further we went down the chain, the greater the applause. So we'll have to talk about that later.
I'm relatively new.
Okay.
Only 1 week old.
So, and then the Northern District police officers are here as well. I think we have several.
All right.
And they do deserve the most applause, and they're the ones out here doing this hard work, but rewarding work. So I'll be brief. Just a couple things the mayor touched on. The Department of Justice collaborative reform is something that is making our police department better. A bigger and better things with the Civilian Review Board will make our police department and our relationship with you better. So those things are underway. The violent crime spike is certainly a national trend. It's pronounced in several jurisdictions. We're one of those jurisdictions post-unrest and has experienced a spike in our homicides and our non-fatal shootings. And there's no one reason for that. And I heard the mayor this, so I'm saying this, so I'll borrow her line. If there was just one solution to it, we already would have done it. But there are many contributing factors, and we're aware of those factors, and we're doing the best we can. We're not standing still. 2014, and we always say this, it seems like it was a long time ago. It wasn't. So the crime fighting strategies that we had in place in 2014 that got us to our second best year since before 1972 in terms of homicides. Those crime fighting strategies, I promise you, are still in place. Our focus on violent repeat offenders, our focus on gangs, our focus on drug organizations, all those strategies still exist. What we've done on top of those strategies is we've incorporated a couple of processes to make them stronger and speak to each other more quickly. So the war room is nothing more than a room about the size of this room, where crime analysts are now present with a blended group of folks to include detectives and prosecutors from our state's attorney's office and our U.S. attorney's office. The war room is a place where cases go to get solved, and it is effective. And we've received some, there's a great mystery. What is this thing called the war room? What's it all about? It's been defined in a way that I'm hopeful that you all have been able to see either in the newspaper or on television. We've added on top of that this BFAD approach, which is nothing more than a collaborative approach to our crime fighting. So we've embedded special agents from 5 federal law enforcement agencies, the U.S. Marshals, the Secret Service, the FBI, ATF, and DEA. They're embedded in our homicide section, but they're not investigating homicides. They're investigating the people who we know have taken lives in the city of Baltimore and remain free because we've yet to prove it to the degree that we need to prove it to bring them to justice. But what is not unique about those bad guys is that they're otherwise engaged in a criminal lifestyle. So if you commit a murder or you shoot somebody, chances are that you're also doing something else in your life that's a crime. So the approach that we're taking with our federal partners is, let's find out what that something else is and do everything we can to find a way to charge you with a crime that you are committing and get you out of the community. Rod Rosenstein, our long-term U.S. attorney, he's actually the longest-serving, this is a bit of trivia, the longest-serving U.S. attorney in America is Rod Rosenstein, and he's ours. The longest-serving U.S. Marshal in America is Johnny Hughes, and he's ours. So their commitment to Baltimore and public safety is tremendous. And the U.S. Attorney's Office has adopted significantly more gun cases than they typically have in the last couple of years. And what's important with those gun cases that are adopted in federal court is it's mandatory sentencing. So judges in federal court don't have the discretion that judges in state court have, and it's mandatory sentencing. If you have a gun and you're a convicted offender, the chances are you're going to go away for 5 to 10 years, and that's really 5 to 10 years. So they have stepped up. We've identified about 238 people in the city who we know have taken a life or have almost taken a life, and we haven't been able to prove it with improbable cause. So those are the folks that we're really focused on going after. It's focused policing. Community policing, what does community policing mean to you? What does it mean to our police officers? We're putting together a community policing strategy that will rival our crime fighting strategy. Our crime fighting strategy is pretty robust. It's about 192 pages. Our community policing strategy is not as robust. So we're going to define it largely around the necessity of foot patrols. And we're going to do bigger and better things with foot patrols. Foot patrol is both a science and an art. So when we tell these young cops to get out of the street and engage in the foot patrol, we have to do a better job in teaching them what that means. It doesn't mean just taking a walk around the block and looking at your feet. It doesn't mean standing, stoically. And that's what, we're stoic creatures by nature. So we really just have to do a better job affording our young cops the tools that they need to really engage in community policing, and we're going to use foot patrols as that vehicle. And then finally, and I'll be quiet, Gus, the preparation for this fall, there are several motions in court that will be heard over the next several days. There are motions regarding the 6 police officers who have been charged in relation to their role in the in-custody death of Freddie Gray. So depending on what happens with the motions hearings, there's a potential for crowds to gather, and your police department will protect everyone's right to engage in a protest. And like the mayor said, we'll treat a protest like a protest, and we'll treat a riot like a riot. We can't afford to get those two mixed up, and we won't this time around. And we have the training now, we have the equipment, and we certainly have the experience. So all those things are kind of happening at once. It's exciting. It's not daunting because we know we're up to the task, and we can't do it without you guys. And we'll walk away tonight even better than we entered here. And I'm looking forward to all the questions and comments. And, we're going to hear you loud and clear, and we're going to act on your concerns. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And by the way, I'm actually clearing my throat so I can speak more. And while you were speaking, Madam Mayor, the lights went out for a moment. Then entered Councilman Carl Stokes. So We have several members from the mayor's staff.
I was just talking about my hearing from my recreation capital plan, and then you walked in and the lights went off, like, whoo, it was like Armin. It was ready for you to make an announcement about a hearing date.
So, several members of the mayor's staff who are here. Two of them are holding microphones. They are Tony White to my right, and, oh, it's just the one microphone. Okay, so there's the one microphone, but there are members of the staff, Larry Nunley and Demetrius Melishan. Many of you know Demetrius, as well as Anna Rogers, who will be coming around making sure they get your information. I guarantee you that we will not get to everyone tonight, but hopefully each of you received a survey when you entered. As Madam Mayor mentioned earlier.
Can you hold up the survey so you see it? If you didn't get a survey, please let us know. Raise your hand.
Yes, and we will make, oh,
Look at that. Y'all are slacking.
So,
Where's my staff people?
as we go into,
Keep your hands up.
keep those hands. So as we go into the Q&A portion, those of you just keep your finger or a hand up. We'll make sure you get a survey. So we're going to begin starting with questions. I like to go from one side to the room to the other and back and forth. This is the 4th public safety forum we've hosted. Some of the complaints I'll just share with you in the survey has been that some of them have been about folks in the district not having an opportunity to ask the question. So we want to make sure that those of you who are in fact residents here in Waverly or members of the Northern District, this is your public safety forum. We want to make sure we hear from you. So first thing we're asking is that you give us your name and then the neighborhood that you're from, and then you can give us your question. And we can start, which side should we start on? My left, or why don't we start on this side? And then that way, we have one hand up, and the other hand's on this side.
And make your way over to the microphone just so we don't rotate.
There's his hand up. And yes, sir, the grade. Okay, so this is where we're in the black, really cool emblems on the polo shirt. This is what we'll do. Bill Cunningham, we'll have you come up to the microphone. You have your hand up. We have a young man who had his hand up here. Yes. And the two gentlemen on this side, if you can make your way over.
Thank you.
Again, we just need your name and your neighborhood, and you can give us your question. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Bill Good. I'm from Waverly District, my community. But my question is this. First, I want to just say thank you for having this forum. But, Madam Mayor, years ago you supported a resolution known as 282. And I've been trying to contact you in several ways, trying to get your position of what you supported years ago and have ignored it. And that was this. We have many people, somebody says that it should be a small citizens group to witness the incineration process of weapons and drugs that the police confiscate. Now they confiscate millions of dollars worth of drugs and weapons, and nobody holds the police accountable to what happened to them drugs and weapons. And I'm saying, to me, that's quite dumb. I mean, you know, we have the political leadership, they don't even know what happened to the drugs and weapons. Just recently, they confiscated 147 pounds of cocaine. Well, what's going to happen to it? Do it come back into the streets, or do we have somebody to prove that them drugs and weapons is being destroyed? Yes, ma'am, Madam Mayor.
I do remember that resolution. I don't know what the process for destruction is now, but I can certainly get back to you. If you fill out the survey form and give me a contact information, I can let you know.
Well, do you still support that?
I don't know. I mean, that was so long ago. I mean, there was. I don't know what the best practices change, and I don't know what the current practice is for the destruction. So if you give me a chance to take a look at what we're doing now, then I can better respond to that question.
Well, I'm going to just say thank you, but I can tell you it's the same process now as it was then because nothing has changed.
So if you give me a chance to take a look at that and what best practices are around the country, I'll certainly respond as long as you give me your contact information.
Well, I hope you get back in touch with me.
I hope. It's good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Bill?
Bill Cunningham from Remington. Before I get to
Thank you, sir, for your help lately. Before I get to a question, I want to bring this body to recognize a problem with public safety that has nothing to do with the police that I just recognized as we're trying to deal with problem properties in our communities. And that is that a large majority of the properties in our community are not certified rent-free. It is appalling. And if you want to give a child a bad start, let them get lead poisoning, and they'll probably end up within the criminal justice system. I think that's a good possibility. So that needs to be looked at. You know, I'm glad to hear about foot patrol, but we can't even get a car in our area. And that's been going on for years now. And it slows down a little bit when the murder's over and Greenmount and York Road slow down. But you all, and you're going to go back away from not having posts, but it doesn't matter. They take the post off and send them over on Greenmount and York Road. I know you all think that's proactive, but I'm going to give you an example of what I saw when I started to monitor all the police officers on Greenmount Avenue and York Road about 4 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, when they all sat on the corners up and down. And I came up Old York Road, and one officer was over right out on this corner over here, and another one was at the gas station. And I reached the next street from there, and 2 men were beating the hell out of another man as the police officers were right around the corner. So I don't think that proactive action is really one that serves the community. But what we are inundated with, until just 2 weeks ago, I had to come 5 minutes after a man was shot in the head on one of our corners, which I complained bitterly about for quite some time now. Our residents are being inundated with petty crimes. And if you want to keep 10,000 new families, and we want to have one of the highest growths of any place in the city and bringing new families, but we are inundated with petty crimes. And this is going to lead to my question now. I'm being told by the police officers that your police force is dramatically understaffed. Understaffed by meeting the full enrollment, and also by possibly 500 people who are not serving because of either medical or problems they've had on the job. Is that true when I'm hearing about these 500 officers?
No, there's no way we could afford to not have 500 police officers. That number is in the double digits, and there are officers who are on light duty or no duty for a variety of medical reasons, and then there are officers who are suspended. And those circumstances aren't unique to the Baltimore Police Department. But to get back to your comment, you mentioned post just for a second. We went away from post several months ago. We're going back to post. It's the equivalent of having a jersey on your back with a number on it. So assigning a small geography to a police officer is a best practice. We got away from it for a second. We're getting back to it. So we think those are some of the tweaks that are necessary for us to make that will allow us to address the quality of life crimes. And I've been in the Northern District. I think my first time was with Councilmember Mary Pat Clark at the church. And I understand that it's not just murders and non-fatal shootings that residents of Baltimore are concerned about. And I think the crimes that make people concerned or make people consider whether they want to live somewhere, anywhere, is residential burglaries, stolen cars, petty crimes, blight, and not seeing public safety. So we get that. We can do better, and we can do both. We can address the violence, and we can address the quality of life crime. So with the mayor's help, we're enhancing what we do with our crime lab. So we think by enhancing the number of civilian crime analysts and the civilian crime lab techs on the police department, that we can do a better job with solving those petty crimes that you talked about, the fingerprint hits, etc. So I understand where you and where others come from regarding quality of life crimes, and that's something that I and the command staff here are keenly aware of.
And I've also asked the commissioner to help to identify what resources are necessary to do a better job when you have, you call them petty crimes, but I think when your house gets broken into, it doesn't feel petty. What we've heard at the past few public safety forums, and I actually have had some neighborhood meetings at people's homes, and one of the things that I've talked about is that people are frustrated with not getting the crime labs out there in time. So I certainly have responded by asking the commissioner to identify what resources are needed so we can dedicate some of the crime lab to property crimes. Because if we tell you it'll be a week before somebody can come out, you know, yeah, I mean, you know, it's added, why bother? And I was telling somebody the other day, but one of the last public safety forums that was talking about an issue when their car got broken into. I know you think it's just property, but it can be devastating. You know, I remember the first car I purchased was someone broke into it and, you know, took everything, my new print CD and all kinds of stuff, and a handbag, and I was crying so hard when the police got there. They thought I was in the car when it was broken into, but that's just how you feel, and I get it. So we're working to try to identify some more resources to put on property crime. With respect to lead, you know, that's something I take very, very seriously. We are known around the country for our work with green and healthy homes. And because of the work that we've done, we've been recognized again by the Obama administration, and HUD was just here last week with a new, it was almost $4 million grant to do inspections and remediation on homes in Baltimore City. And I agree wholeheartedly that sometimes we fight the battle so downstream, we start in a losing position when there are upstream things that we can do, such as removing lead from homes, such as teaching mediation skills and alternative dispute skills in preschool and elementary school, and mindfulness in elementary schools. Those are the types of things that we can do way before, so you don't get to these problems that we're having down the road. So we're in agreement there. Got it. He's talking about just the number of homes that haven't been registered when it comes to lead paint, and that's why I was, again, pleased that we were able to get that grant award, so we can continue. We can be even more aggressive when it comes to lead inspections and remediation. We're also at the award, the grant award program last week. Green and Healthy Homes announced a new app that is available Apple or Android, that makes it very easy to run through a series of, I think it's like 10 questions, that identifies the risk that you have in your home for lead, and also attaches resources. So simple things that you can do to limit the lead exposure yourself, and then what other resources are out there, community resources as well.
So before we go to the next question, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to reiterate that we're on a time constraint, and if we can keep our questions or comments concise and use a microphone. One of the reasons why we emphasize using the microphone is, in fact, this forum is being taped, and if there's just a blank noise when you're speaking, you don't have a microphone. We want to make sure that we get your comment on that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have a concise question. My name is Tom Rivas. I'm a resident of Homeland. I was a resident of Charles Village for about 15 years, and I moved up the way in part to avoid some of the crime issues. My car's been broken into twice in the last 2 months. My garage has been broken into twice in the last 2 months. I recognize, having been in Charles Village, and recognize that Homeland is not the place where the focus of the police department in the city probably is because of larger issues involved. However, there are some significant property crime issues that my neighbors and I are experiencing that are significantly more than they've been in the past, and I wanted to know what was being done about that. Thank you.
Well, I think one of the many benefits to attending a meeting like this on a Monday night, if you don't yet know your district commander and assistant district commander, they are the police commissioners of this district. And the folks often get frustrated because they don't receive the type of service or a timely response by a police officer. And that could be for a variety of different reasons. So a lot of people take that unsatisfactory feeling and they just sit on it. They let it fester and they let it shape their opinion of the police department. And I always tell people, sometimes you just have to go up the food chain a little bit. And the reason why these folks are wearing the white shirts with the fancy rank insignia is because they're in charge and they're in place to fix things and address those small things that frustrate folks. So you guys, everybody in this room really should be on a first name basis with your district commander and assistant district commander. And it's my hope that you'll find some time afterwards to stay after and speak to the major, speak to the captain. There's all types of district commanders and personalities, but this duo here is unique. They complement each other. They're both problem solvers, and I know when I call the Northern District to resolve something, they finish my sentence and they fix it. So, can you please meet them afterwards and just introduce yourself?
The other thing, back to what I just said about working to get additional resources in the crime lab. A lot of times we're dealing with, when we talk about repeat violent offenders, they're also repeat property offenders. And by focusing on getting additional resources in the crime lab, we'll better be able to identify those individuals and get them off the street. Because while they might be one person, they could be responsible for 20 different home break-ins. And you know the ripple effects of that. I mean, some people get hit, like you said, multiple times. Some people, are getting hit for the first time. And I know nobody wants to live like that. So, please connect with the district commander. And, my expectation is that they'll come up with a solution to get more presence in your community. But also know that that's another reason why we're working on that crime lab resource.
And I think that's really quickly, thieves tend to have one thing in common. They're drug addicts. So a drug addict who has to feed his or her habit, who runs out of money, is going to steal and break into homes. And I stood up with the health commissioner this morning. I know the mayor met with her this afternoon to introduce this Narcan, this naloxone, this antidote to the heroin. If we can get a handle on our drug addiction issue as a city, ultimately those property crimes will soon fall. Most thieves are drug addicts, and they steal because they need money to keep their habit going. So there's a lot of different pieces.
Yes, sir. By the way, I'm going to emphasize, I mentioned names. I want to mention Robin Truitt, who's in the back. Raise your hand. Robin will also, we'll also be taking your information too. We want to make sure, like the gentleman from Homeland who just spoke, I got your first name, Tom, I didn't get the last name. Priest. Yes. We make sure we have your information. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Kansam Freely. I live in Waverly. I think the city is trying to do as best of a good job of trying to eliminate crime in communities such as Waverly, Charles Village, etc. My question is, what's your goals in trying to help city community residents get jobs, help eliminate vacant homes, and other issues that could lead to crime? And also, what's the goals for trying to get children maybe off the streets and into different activities so they may not go into crime?
First, thank you very much for your question. I'll go in reverse order. You talked about getting children off the streets. That's why I thought it was very timely that Councilman Stokes walked in, because the initiative that I have with the new and renovated recreation centers is important. When I came into office, the previous administration had closed all the PAL centers without even a plan for what we were going to do moving forward. We had rundown recreation centers and people were wondering why nobody used them, and nobody was willing to have the tough conversations with the community so we could build for better. When I became mayor, I was disgusted by what I saw in some of the recreation centers. The conditions in the recreation centers. So when you go into the girls' bathrooms and there's not even stalls on the door, and the guys are fine with that. But you know, I don't know many girls that would want to go to a recreation center when there's no stalls on the bathroom doors. And I had a problem with it because too many people felt it was okay to leave that open in those conditions and think that we were doing something for somebody. I said to myself, if I wouldn't send my child into it, I don't want you to send yours. And I pulled together a group of community leaders to put together a recreation center capital plan that paved the pathway forward for recreation centers. Everybody knows, whether it's in your home, your business, or in city government, you can't spend the same dollar twice. So we had to say which ones we're going to close so we could plan for the investments that we're making to renovate and rebuild recreation. Because of those tough decisions that we made, we were able to build the first new recreation center in over 10 years in Morrill Park. We're breaking ground on 2 more this year in Cherry Hill and Cahill, and more on the way. This plan would provide for almost 25, maybe 26 new or renovated centers. That's important because it sends a very strong message that our families are important and that we want to support our young people and our family, along with the youth programming that I talked about. You know, that's what we're focused on getting off the street. I have a bill for the council that would sell 4 downtown parking garages, and it would pay for almost between $40 and $60 million of that capital investment. While those garages have made us money, they're like any other asset. There comes a point where the cost to maintain them outweighs the benefit. That's where we are with these parking garages. And I firmly believe that there are not too many residents in the city who believe that we should be spending money to make capital improvements to a parking garage instead of putting that money into rec center. We have to, there's no way around putting the money into the garages if we're going to continue to maintain them. If we sell them, we get to make money off the assets, and maintenance is somebody else's problem. But I can't sell them on my own. The city council has to hear the bill and hopefully pass the bill. But it's been sitting in the councilman's committee for almost a year. I think 9 months, almost a year. My hope is that he will announce a hearing date so we can move forward with that plan. With respect to vacant homes and what we're doing with vacant homes, I'm working very hard with our vacancy value initiative. We have rehabbed or demolished almost 3,000, well, probably a little more than 3,000 at this point, with plans to do even more. We've spurred over $100 million of private investment through vacancy value. We've created incentives for people to move into the community. Some of the communities in Northern District have benefited from that work. A lot of the new homes in Remington have been purchased with incentives from vacancy value, and there's more to come. I firmly believe in making sure that we have solid investments in our neighborhoods, and that's why I work so hard to create a blight elimination plan that worked for our city. For decades we've known that we've had a problem with vacant and abandoned properties, but there wasn't a comprehensive plan to address them. And that's why I've worked so hard to create this plan that deals with absentee landlords, with the help of the city council. We have increased citations for absentee landlords and speculators. With the help of Bill Henry, we were able to even strengthen that to broaden the definition of what a vacant house was so we can be more aggressive with these citations. And as I said, because of that, we've been able to spur over $100 million of private investment. I'm going in reverse order, so it was children, it was blight, and the next thing is jobs. Jobs is a big focus. Under my administration, we've been able to create more than 12,000 jobs and reduce unemployment by a third in the past 5 years, and we're not done. With my new director of the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, we are laser focused on, you don't want me to talk about jobs? You don't want me to talk about jobs? I wouldn't cut you off, sir. Just trying to answer his question. So we've been focused like the laser on finding employment for our hardest to employ individuals. And Jason Perkins Cohen has over a 20-year history in helping to find jobs for ex-offenders and people who need training and things like that, so they can find a way to provide for themselves and their families. So I'm very pleased with the work that we're doing in that area, and we're going to continue to work hard on helping our most vulnerable and I think at-risk Baltimoreans to find quality jobs. And when the Regional Manufacturing Center closed in Park Heights, we made sure that we found a partner to reopen it and to provide for those jobs. So it doesn't matter if you have a criminal history or not. If you show up and you are ready to learn, the JARC has over 90% placement in advanced manufacturing. We've also teamed up with many manufacturing jobs so we can push those individuals who are able to complete the program into those jobs, open another regional job training facility in South Baltimore with our casino fund. So we're going to continue to do that throughout the city and provide for those opportunities for our hardest to employ individuals.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Cedric Crump. I have a question particularly for my leaders of the Northern District. I'm concerned about the resources being deployed around Woodburn and York Road to bring out the technical unit maybe 3-4 times a week up there. I'd like to know what is your expectation of that vehicle, and when that vehicle is deployed, it pushes crime into the neighborhood, but we don't get the follow-up roving patrols to try to handle that crime. And I'm wondering, is the police department reaching out to the methadone clinics to try to get those guys to be responsible for the crime that they're bringing into our neighborhood?
So guys, come on up. I'm familiar with the vehicle.
Yes, sir. 600 ton bridge, right? Okay. Well, one of the things, though, Mr. Cedric, is that 500 ton bridge is one of our top priorities in the district because of the violence and the relationship with crime up there, with the drug dealing as well. So the truck is up there, and it's visionary. It puts presence in the area. However, we have pushed the crime out and displaced the crime a little bit. But we also know down at Ready and Tunbridge, we've been hitting that area very hard. We've executed search warrants on that corner house and that next house. Matter of fact, that house at 526, me and the major got a complaint from someone in the community, in your community, who said they can't even walk out of their door. Well, guess what? They can't, right? But they can now. They couldn't then, but they can now.
We left on 30 minutes ago, they were still there.
Right, but we've made a big impact in that area, but the reason for that truck is for the presence. That's why. But 5400 York Road, and we're working actually with Mr. Henry on it, is the zoning of some of those businesses up there, because now they're open till 4 a.m.
I would like to know, is there a policy when you deploy the truck, should there be follow-up patrols in the neighborhood? Because the truck is going to push them off of York Road.
Yes, sir.
And we're concerned that it's moving the crime into the neighborhood and there's no follow-up.
The only thing that I can say about that, when we bring the truck, just like the captain and Ray on, that's for omnipresence. Okay, wherever you have police action, you're gonna get a displacement, regardless. You know, if I move a truck 2 blocks east, 2 blocks west, they're gonna move, okay? Now, based on the resources, a lot of times we understand the displacement, we understand, but a lot of things that the community don't see and realize, a lot of times we intentionally move them put things in place so we can get them moved. Now, what we have up there in your particular block, that block in particular, is a strong threshold. These guys have taken over that area, and we realize that, okay, if these guys proceed to go any further north, okay, then they're gonna migrate, and then finally be up to Northern Parkway. You know, so my thing is when we bring that truck, if we do any police action, I have an operations unit. When we move them out of that threshold, then we can get information. I've been getting a lot of information, positive information from the community, giving us addresses, giving us locations. I had just got a complaint 2 weeks ago about, I think it was 508, 506 Woodburn Avenue, that the prostitutes sit on the steps, go around the back, do, with their johns and do illicit activities. However, working one night, I put my lieutenants out on that. I was out there, bingo, go right up there because of the information that was provided to me. We made an arrest, a good arrest, and we sent the message. However, it's not one quick fix, okay? It's gonna be a continuation of us deploying, and the community, just like you have done in that area. We consist on you contacting us with information. All we can do is come out, we can see, we can police, but if we don't have that needed ingredients, which are you guys, giving us that information, some areas are better than others. Some areas are better than others. And since we're on that incident, we just had a slew of violence, not far from that location. A slew of violence. I had 3 juveniles, 3 young men slain, okay? However, a week prior to that, these 2 of the 3 were locked up in a vehicle with handguns, okay? But they were back on the street, okay? They were back on the street, and they had extensive criminal records, okay? This is what I have to deal with, okay? But keep in mind, we're out there, we're working. I know your frustrations, and then we'll talk even further offline, because I take this stuff serious. My captain takes it serious, and all I can tell you is that when we bring that truck up there, okay, you're gonna get some displacement. All right, what you want is an ongoing police presence up there, and I try to give you, that's one of my hot spot areas, 52, 5400 York Road, that's on my deployment plan daily.
What I would like, when you help down the corner, and Officer Gibson ran from 7 to 12 at night, if your officers do what you 2 gentlemen did, we wouldn't have a problem.
We'll take that in consideration. We have since then put a better inspection component. It's all about inspection. Like I said, if the captain's there, I'm there, then we know things are gonna get done. However, we have an inspection component, and I thank you for your question.
Mr. Bridgeville, again, my name is Lieutenant Colonel William Marcus, I have the Northern District, Northwest District, and the Central District. I know the Central District like the back of my hand. We were very, very successful last year in the Central District. Now I'm in the mix here with you all. You all will get to know me much better. But in the interim, let me give everybody here my number. I'm an insomniac, so you can call me any time of day or night. And frequently people do. My wife thinks she's a police officer as well, so there's no problem. My number is 443-681-0043. And I mean it with all sincerity, because without your help, our hands are tied. We need you. And I need to get that call from you. The number is 443-681-0043. And please help me.
What's your name again?
William Marcus, and they are seeing us. Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Someone is, would you like to come over there?
People have been coming over to this side, sir. There's only one microphone because we're taping, and we ask people to begin and come over.
And I will say, sir, you need to sit down until we get to you. There are seats over here while you wait to get to the mic. Yes, sir, in the black shirt.
Evening, Mayor. Thank you very much for coming out. I appreciate it. My name is David Tone. I live in Charles Village. Fell in love in Baltimore in 1987. After 26 years in the Army, moved back here. It's the first house I've ever bought. Totally love it, totally committed in. My first experience with the police was on Saturday when I watched what ended up being a minor fight down in Lyman Dell Park. But I called 911 about 1 in the afternoon. After 8 rings, nothing. Hung up. About 10 minutes later, by then the fight had broken up. I got a call back from an operator. Did someone call from this number? Yes. Was there an issue? No. Thank you. Click. So I'm not entirely sure the value of 911 if they won't answer, and if they call back 10 minutes later, if I had been doing something bad and had that phone, I probably would not have called.
Well, my question was going to be, and you answered it, did you call 911? Obviously you did, and I'm sorry you had that negative experience. I really am. One thing that we are doing right now is we're transitioning the 911 dispatchers back to the police department.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
transition process.
How long?
I promise, we're coming. Within the next month or so.
Yeah, well, really.
And what that allows us, Councilmember, you know, it just allows us the oversight. So I think.
And the benefits, are they gonna be employees of the police?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. I was gonna call you and ask you if that was okay. I don't need to call you.
Yeah, that's
We're
okay,
good.
that's great.
And you should know, Councilman, we're also working to increase the number of call takers that we have.
Yeah, I mean,
The
basically,
turnover, unfortunately,
because of being switched,
well, the turnover, we're talking about two different things, call takers and dispatch.
Yeah.
The turnover in call takers is very high. That's why I spent some time with the call takers a few weeks ago and their union representative,
yes.
particularly after the unrest. They are on the front lines in a different way and are suffering a lot of work-related stress. And it was already a tough job that was made more tough, and it's not. The challenge in dealing with the turnover there is you can't just like go on LinkedIn and find some call takers. It's a special, it is a special set of skills to even apply, and then there's a training. So we know that we are short in call takers, and we're working very hard to try to get some of those call takers back. The ones who
Some if they were gonna be working for the police, and they
We've
get
been
their accrual, they can get their leave times rolling along with them, not wait till the end of a year.
So those were the conversations I've been having with their union rep as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor,
All right.
for talking to the union, because that's exactly one of the problems, and it's gonna make a huge difference to get them back with the police.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. I mean, yeah.
I don't wait. I thought something was wrong, but everything's good.
Sorry about that.
Well, Councilman, I'll say it's a sign of good government when the government can adjust to things. So we try things, if they don't work, we make an adjustment.
All the world, I know about that gentleman's problem, and many, many other busy signals and the like. And that never happened when the police department had the call takers and the dispatch.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
And sir, wherever you went, I am sorry you had that experience, and I hope your next one is a long time away, but I hope it's a better one next time.
I hope I never have to make that.
I do too.
Thank you.
I'm Armand Gerard, taxpayer for 44 years. I also represent the Republican Central Party here tonight. I have one question. I was reading that, in Baltimore in July we had 43 homicides. And then I was reading this article about Boston where they only had one homicide in May. I was wondering if the disparity is just huge. Have one homicide, 43 homicides, the same population, about 640,000. I'm wondering if the mayor would comment on that disparity and whether we have any chance of ever getting to Boston's level.
So I'll say this, while Boston and Baltimore are both big cities, they're different cities, and the closest big city to Baltimore is Washington, D.C., and we have a similar population, and we're having a similar violent crime challenge right now. D.C. is up about 40% in murders this year, and we're up in a pronounced way this year as well. So I kind of go back to my earlier comment. In 2014, we had a really good year in Baltimore. So the last time our nation saw this spike in homicides was 2006. Now, Boston is unique right now. Most big cities in America are experiencing a significant uptick in homicides and in violent crime. We've met, all the major city chiefs have met on a number of occasions in Washington to discuss crime-fighting strategies. So we talk to each other, we collaborate with each other, we share best practices, and we just need to continue to fight our way out of this moment. And we'll look back on 2015 one day, and I'm convinced of it, and we will be able to be proud
of how we fought out of this moment. We can't take our ball and go home. We can't quit. So we're fighting through this, sir, I promise you. And you've got this community has the full attention of your police department, and I promise you we'll get to the other side of it.
And before we get to the next question, ma'am, you don't have to sit. You can sit. I just wanted to let you know you were behind the gentleman in the white shirt, so you don't have to stand if you don't. Okay. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I want to raise a question. Y'all always say if you see something, say something. Getting still, you had the officer Corey got killed who seen something, gone. Another police seen something, threw rat on his car. Another police seen something, they gave him 18 charges and put him in jail. Now, some police out there have seen something, nobody say nothing, but y'all want us to say something. This is a double standard. I want to hear this answer. Thank you.
So, sir, that is a great question and comment. One person I forgot to introduce tonight from our police department is the chief of our Department of Justice Compliance Coordination Team, Ganesha Martin. Ganesha, if you can say hello to everyone. So Chief Martin is in charge of a group of people that we've assembled on your police department to ensure that the moment those scenarios pop up, we deal with it with urgency and we deal with it swiftly. Now, the mayor mentioned earlier that all the traditional indicators about a police department's level of misconduct over the past couple of years have significantly dropped. Lawsuits have dropped. Courtesy complaints have dropped. Convictions at police trial boards have risen. So we're not yet a perfect organization. I don't know one that is, but I promise you that if I detect any police officer trying to threaten or intimidate or otherwise harass another police officer from coming forward with information about misconduct, and I'll move heaven and earth to impact that officer. There was a police officer who was recently charged with attempted first-degree murder, and that charge, that criminal charge against that Baltimore police officer would never, ever, ever would have happened unless other Baltimore police officers stepped up and they saw something and they said something. So we're all proud of those other officers. You just don't hear about it as much in the media. But they do, there are good cops that come forward. There are more good than bad out there, I promise you. And I'll protect those good cops.
Look, on the other side there, the code of blue, they don't talk. They keep their mouth shut. That's not helping us come together.
I understand.
I think the thing to remember is as we are working to combat the code of blue, I think we shouldn't, how you say if you point one finger forward, pointing back at you. But there's a code of silence in our community as well that we have to combat. There's when you think about Mackenzie Elliott, she was killed in broad daylight, and we know for a fact that there were people out on the street. I certainly think that it's not helpful that no one is coming forward with information that will lead to her killing. I think, the same tough conversations that our police department is having, and it's happening, with departments all over the country, the same conversations we have to have as a community to say what we're willing to do when it comes to giving information so we can turn some of these individuals in.
Yes, sir. Actually, the gentleman in this white shirt, yes. He's been waiting for it.
My name is James Dandridge. I live in Roundhouse, Hollis area.
You know me?
Bit far from here, but my question is about something that pertains more to our kind of neighborhood or neighborhoods near mine than up here, because yours is more totally occupied. And we have several houses and several organizations that are going to be developing houses down there, Zone 23, actually, on 01. But and it's about the preoccupancy policy in putting together neighborhoods. But first, I want to say, Mayor Blake, I want to congratulate you. I saw you this weekend at the National Democratic meeting in, where's that? Minneapolis, yes. And prior, I saw you a few times Meet the Press. And I just thought when I saw that, not to belabor this, that in the papers, I still see people sort of second guessing you and money motor quarterbacking, and then I look at you on a national level and I say, you know, I guess that old adage, the prophet gets no respect in a home, it's just a fact of life that we live with. And I just wanted to say that I personally thank you for your leadership. I lived through the last riots, and I know what we experienced is not even a down payment on what happened before. We had the disadvantage of the fact that you can't quantify that which didn't happen. A lot of bad things didn't happen because of your leadership. Thank you. With reference to this issue, a lot of houses are some of them are spot houses. Up in this area, I noticed there's a house here and there. But down out where we have blocks of houses, and some organizations are working to develop those houses. At times in the past, in Baltimore, I've experienced where we've had blocks of houses or groups of houses that were developed. And in cases where the prospective homeowners were brought together and communicated, the community existed before a single house was demoed, before a single brick was pointed out or anything. I worked in other houses, other projects where we just developed houses and turned them over to people, and they were just people in houses, but they never became a community. Some of the areas that I've seen greater success is like in the homestead areas, and Sterling Street, and Audubon, and Washington Hill, and those areas remain good tax revenue areas for the city, and part of the reason I know from having sit in from the very beginning is that the people came together as a community, not only to know if, and if not suggest, that for those organizations that are developing houses in areas which have group development, if it's your policy to bring those prospective homeowners together before they actually take possession of the house.
I think we certainly work with, in our healthy neighborhoods areas, the city supports healthy neighborhoods. They do a lot of that type of home ownership counseling. But if it's just a straight sale, we do not. What we have been doing, however, is working with neighborhood associations to try to establish sort of neighborhood norms. So when people come in, it doesn't matter if this is their first home or their fourth home that they've bought, that they understand the standards of the community. So I think that there's definitely ways to get at that same, to reach your same goal through multiple pathways. It might not be having a meeting of all of the prospective owners ahead of time, but there's a way to continue to have that dialogue and do it through the community association. And thank you for your comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis, Madam Mayor, I'm thrilled to hear that there is a community policing plan in the works. However, my question is, have you consulted with community groups and leaders about the development of that plan, and if so, to what extent? Because my first experience with you as a new commissioner and with the police department as a new, or a longtime resident, but with you in new leadership, was someone parked a 4 light halogen next to my house that shined into my 7-year-old daughter's bedroom for 2 days. Councilman Stokes and Captain Gibson finally, through a community connection, were able to help me get that light turned off. But my community officer told me that it was above his pay grade and that I would have to wait until Monday to call DPW. DPW told me it was your light and I should call the Northern District. The Northern District officer told me, no, it's DPW's light. You'll have to wait until Monday. So if this is the community policing that we're gonna get in neighborhoods when we call about a problem block, I live in Harwood, right around the corner. When we call and an officer just drives by, lights on, never gets out, never introduces themselves, doesn't leave a card in your house and takes up a parking space, that is not the community policing plan I want for Baltimore. It's not the community policing plan that's gonna attract 10,000 new families. It's gonna make us move out. It makes me wanna move out.
So I'll say this, and for the second time, I'm sorry you had that experience, and I'm sorry that that's your impression of me and the police department. And I don't know anything about the lane, but I'm sure these folks will clue me in. And we can do it. We can do it on the side. But ma'am, you know, you're here tonight because you wanted to say something, And what you just said will ultimately, sharpen us. Metal sharpens metal. So folks that may be in this room that are unhappy with your experience with the police department, and we take those comments back. We don't like to hear them, and we want to become better because of it. And that's why these guys are kind of jumping up and chomping at the bit to say something, even though I'm not going to let them say something right now. But we'll hook up with you after the meeting, and we'll make sure that we do all we can to rectify that problem.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Gary Hargrove. I live in Cold Spring, Newtown, and just had a question in general about what is, or can you tell us to the extent that you're able, what the plan is going to be in October when the trial of the 6 officers comes about? Are there any proactive steps you're taking? And I'm particularly interested, I'm a pastor of a church in East Baltimore, and we were impacted by some of the looting. How can we be involved in helping to mitigate some of those issues?
We'll both speak. I'll say on a kind of the bigger picture, as soon as we had the unrest, we saw areas of weakness. We saw equipment that was purchased and was failing the officers. We saw areas that communications needs to be tightened up with other agencies. All of those things, we haven't waited until the after action report comes out to start making those corrections. Officers have been trained differently, equipment has been purchased, new equipment has been purchased, and as I talked about, I think a little bit before, we've been tightening up that communications across the board. The Commissioner can talk more specifically about the different things that he's putting in place in preparation, but just know that when we saw those things not work the way that we wanted them to, we immediately started taking action to correct them.
So, sir, I'll just add that in addition to the training and the equipment and the experiences that we now have, we have much stronger relationships with our partners throughout the state and throughout the region. Quite frankly, when we called upon some of our partners to help us, it hadn't happened in so long that, folks were like, is it real? Are you sure? You think that really might happen in Baltimore? Well, now they know it did happen, so we won't have to ask twice. And I think, like Mr. Dandridge said, and I wrote this down because I'm going to tell my wife this Sunday when I get home, a Catholic gets no respect in his own home. Is that what you said, Mr. Dandridge? I'm going to use that. It's not going to work. Okay, well, I'm going to use it. I've traveled to a couple different places to give a presentation on how Baltimore handled the unrest. And the first time I did, I had all types of anxieties about how we were going to be received by big city police chiefs from across this country and Canada. And we got 2 standing ovations because what we don't celebrate enough are those things that we prevented, those lives. No lives were lost. And the injuries, while one is unacceptable or too many, it could have been a whole heck of a lot worse than it was. And as each day went by, we got better and better and better. And that has postured your police department in the event that it happens again. Hopefully it's 47 more years, but we'll perform even better and we'll meet your expectations and our expectations next time around. We're prepared. Thank you.
But you should also know that, I don't know, you didn't say what denomination your church? Baptist. So we're working through the different conferences. I'm sure you saw during the unrest how we leaned on the faith community broadly for support to make sure that the unrest that we had, the riots that we had, did not reoccur. And Gus has been leading that outreach effort with the faith community, and we're going to continue to do that. So you should, whoever your contact, the contact is through the conference, just.
Yeah, and I'm the president of the Progressive Baptist Convention of the state, so we certainly are extending our hands to help.
We've been talking.
I wanted everybody else.
Oh, okay.
Right.
My name is Percy Stokes. I'm a resident of Edmond Gardens. I've been a resident 44 years. Some of you might remember Memorial Stadium, football and baseball, right down the street. I came in with not a complaint about the police officers, because I've heard enough of that. My street was torn up about 3 years ago. They put new pipes in. They fixed all around. All the blocks was fixed except for the 3800 block of LK Road, which is right up the street. You come out, there's pebbles, you step on them. You know, the street is just messed up. We've been calling for 3-4 years to fix the street. Fix the street. Just fix the street. I don't want to fall on my face. I'm 76 years old. And I want to keep on booking. And my friends say, guess what happened to her? They didn't fix the street. And she fell and broke her head. Fix the street.
So,
Please,
you
ma'am.
Stokes, you said?
Stokes, Perky Stokes. 3800
I can
blocks
see
of
why they
LK
call you
Road.
Perky.
I'm Perky now.
No, I know, but Robin is right at the back of the room. This is Edwards in your area, Robin, or is that Demetrius?
That's my area.
Yeah.
We go way back.
So we'll follow up between your councilman and Demetrius. We'll make sure to get your answer on when the repairs are due to happen on your street.
Please fix the street. Look at it.
Bill Romano, Waverly resident. I was wondering what the police department is doing in its hiring processes to attempt to increase the percentage of city resident officers in the future versus county resident officers. Because when I interact and talk with officers, the ones that I know that live in the city have a lot more concern about how they do the job than the ones that don't. The ones I talk to that live in the county, it's like they just come in here and they could care less about what they're doing.
So police departments across America have really gotten lazy when it comes to recruiting, because most young people just get online and they go to several websites, and whichever website is the coolest, whoever has the coolest video, they'll apply and they'll cast their net to 5 or 6 or 7 police departments. So police departments haven't had to work as hard as we used to work. So we're turning that around. Only 21% of the police officers in the city live in the city, and we need to do a better job recruiting homegrown cops. One thing that we've done, we're going to make our way to all the high schools in the city, because high schools really matter, you know, in Baltimore. And we're going to bring in all the alum from all the high schools and take a picture and really try to get that in the schools to encourage young people who are growing up in the city that they too can serve this city as a police officer. So we need to do more on the ground work in high schools and our colleges and at community events. You will see a recruiting effort that is more overt than you've probably seen in years. And we got away from it again because technology introduced itself and it made things easier for us, but it had an unintended consequence of drawing in a lot of folks who aren't necessarily from the city. And does that give you a leg up in policing? It certainly does.
Yeah.
I just want to address it a little deeper than that too, because we can't wait until we're able to, to get those high schoolers involved. We know that'll take years, a couple of years to get, more of those kids engaged in the police department. I will say that the commissioner's been very focused on supporting the Explorers program. So that's another way, the Police Explorers program, that young people are coming in. As I mentioned before to Mr. Cunningham about some of the things we're doing, like, when kids are a lot younger, we have the police officers are working with the basketball league, with mobile recreation centers. We have a program through Outward Bound. So that's sort of, way earlier for the kids. But then what about today? In the police department and in the fire department, and I want Chief Ford to speak about it, because this is broader to me than just the police. It's about all of our first responders and having more of them live in the city and be from Baltimore City. In the promotions program in the police department and in the fire department, we have included Baltimore City residents in the interview. I don't want to steal your thunder, Chief Ford, but in the interview and promotions, to make sure that those officers that are getting these promotions that are coming on board, whether it's police or fire, that they they speak to the needs of the community. And if you will indulge me for a second, I'd love the fire chief to talk about the things that he's doing to increase the number of Baltimore City residents.
Good evening, everyone. Some of the things the fire department is doing, we actually have programs in a few high schools where we are actually teaching young people. They have to get in the program their sophomore year, and they have to follow it through. They have to make certain grades to make sure they continue it. And when they finish their senior year, they should finish their program with a Firefighter 1 certification and an EMS, National Register EMS. That's a national certification, one they can take anywhere throughout the country. Now, our plan is that hopefully they stay here and work with us. But we want to put them in a position that if this is a job they're interested in, they have an opportunity to do it. We also have been very aggressive about using citizens, using community people. And what we've done with them is we've used them on the front end as well as the higher ranked positions, and we put them on interview panels. Case in point, my deputy fire chiefs, I promoted 3 deputy fire chiefs recently, about a year ago actually. And I used a citizen panel to do it. We filled up, we gave them the questionnaire, we explained to them what the questionnaire was, and we let them go through the process of interviewing. We did the same thing with incoming firefighters. All these people are community people. They're going to be more, when they interview, they're going to be more thoughtful than if I put captains up there. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. Every time, almost every time, we sit down with these interviewing panels. We had about 50 people, I think the last time, 50 or 53. And they always say this, Chief, what are you looking for in a firefighter? I said, see, that's not what I have you here for. I don't want you to hire a firefighter. We train firefighters. We know how to make firefighters. The person I want you to hire is the person that, after they run fire calls all day the previous day, they run on your mother at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, or your grandmother, with a stumped toe, and they treat it like it's an emergency. That's who I want. And they tend to hire people, and this is what I've seen. They tend to hire city residents. They tend to hire people that have military backgrounds. And they've been extraordinarily effective. Not only do that, they come the day that we start putting them through recruit school. We have a friends and family day, and they talk to them and they say, this is why we hired you, and they explain to them why they're there. Consequently, the employee that just came in is invested into the citizen who just said, this is why we want you here. So it's been very effective. We're both working on these kind of programs, you know, separately because we're separate organizations, but with the same goal. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Alan Garden, a lifetime resident of Baltimore. I, first of all, want to comment that the article that was in the Sun paper yesterday, the 44 people who were killed in July with pictures that told us what happened to them, was a very compelling story. I read through 2/3 of it and couldn't take it anymore. I was crying as I was reading it. I think we have a state of emergency here in Baltimore with what's going on. I've read magazines, international magazines, which said that this was a country in itself. Certain neighborhoods in Baltimore, the State Department would issue travel warnings not to come here. And this is what we're known for around the city. So I'm glad you're, around the world I should say, I'm glad you're here to listen to us in terms of what's going on in our streets. I have a simpler question, and that's about the people who are holding up signs as we walk around, drive around the city, saying they're homeless. I'd like to know what resources the city has to help these people, and what is the city's policy with regard to these people holding signs in the public streets. I want you to know I've been to city fairs where I've asked the police department representative there, what is the policy? And they said, you need to speak to the mayor's department. Then I went to the mayor's desk, and the mayor's desk said, you need to talk to the police department. So I'm really glad that we have both of you here. So we get an answer. I want you to know, Mayor, that I've tried to reach out to your office and talk to somebody directly, and so Dr. Nunnally called me, who's here, and I spoke to him about it. He promised to get back to me, and I never heard back from him on this. So I would like to maybe get an answer today. what is your policy with regard to these issues?
So with respect to, there's a difference between somebody who's holding up a sign, which I believe is not considered aggressive panhandling, and I don't believe that there's any enforcement action that is taken if someone is just holding up a sign and not aggressively panhandling. Is that correct? If someone is aggressively panhandling, and when we talk about aggressive, that is just what it sounds like, coming up to you if you're at an ATM machine, coming up to you when you're taking your credit card out to pay for a parking spot at the multi-parking things. There are restrictions against that that we enforce with the, particularly in downtown partnership area. So, you know, that's the enforcement answer. The bigger answer is something I don't think a lot of us want to talk about, is the fact that a lot of many of the people that are holding up signs aren't homeless at all. And they are using the fact that we're not, you know, that we don't enforce if they're, you know, not aggressive. And they are strategically placed in communities where they know that, where they will receive sympathy/funds. Right? The challenge that I have is, while we all know it, if we tried to move any of them, the individuals and the advocates for the homeless people will try to cut my head off, because they will say that I'm trying to hide the issue of homelessness, or that I don't care about homelessness. And we all know that there are plenty of people out there that are not homeless at all, right? So that's a challenge, because it's one of those things that everybody